Without further ado, we'll get started. Okay, there we are. All right, so the things that we are going to talk about today and in the session are, I've split them into 3 sections really. The first 2 sections are really just going to be me discussing the reasons why we should use drama and the benefits we can get from using drama. And that will be both for the participants for any activities, workshops, or lessons that we lead, but also for ourselves, because I believe drama is beneficial not just for the students and for those that we are teaching. It's also beneficial for us to help us develop as teachers, as people, as educators. So there's a lot of good reasons why we use drama. So I think it's important that I discuss those with you first. And anytime you have anything to add, just let me know. And then the third part of the session, which will be the main part of the session, is how we can actually use drama. So I'm going to give you some real examples of how you can immediately put drama into your lessons or into whatever way you want to use drama. And then hopefully we'll have some time to perform and practice some of these activities together. So I want to, before I continue, just put your mind at rest. If you do not want to turn your camera or microphone on to perform or to speak, that is absolutely okay. I won't sit here and pretend I think everyone in the world loves drama and loves to perform. I understand that's not the case. But before we begin, I would like to just pose the question now, and you can respond at any time you want. And that is just what feelings do drama bring up for you? So if someone just says the word drama to you, whether in the context of a lesson or just in general, what sort of feelings can that drum up in you? And if you would mind using the chat box to respond to that. Thank you immediately there, Jess. You've got anxiety, Zach has said fear, great. I'll come back to those as we go through the session so we can get maybe a few more answers in there. But that is absolutely okay that it can drum up these sorts of feelings. And hopefully, as the meeting goes on, we'll have some more to discuss. Okay, so, sorry. I'm not used to using Zoom anymore. I don't do a lot online, so I'm a little bit behind on the deck. So let's first discuss why we can use drama in the ESL classroom and why it's useful. So here are just a few of the reasons I think it is useful. The first one is that drama activities are absolutely excellent free activities. So if you have come from a background in Chatteris or any TEFL sort of background when developing lessons, you will know the ESA structure of lesson planning, and the A is the activate, where it's the time for the participants and the students to use the skills they've learned throughout their lesson in an actual applicable way to life or to whatever. And for the free activate activities, that's where kids get to use drama in the way they want to. They can take a monologue and perform it that way. They can do something completely silent and take the language out of it, but still have the expression there. So these are really good activities for maybe you're planning a lesson, you've got the rest down, and then you think, what way can the students actually use this? Drama games and activities are absolutely great for that. And on the same sort of topic, they are adaptable to whatever your theme is, whatever your topic is. So you could be teaching about any sort of theme, maybe you could be teaching about bullying, you could be teaching about healthy eating, whatever it is. Drama games are entirely adaptable to what you need them to be. The third one, which I think is one of the best reasons to do it, is your students will going to think you're hilarious. There's nothing kids love more than coming to school and having a good time and laughing. And when they get to do that with the teacher and that they see the teachers doing that themselves, it helps them to relax. It helps them to just calm down, take away any, maybe those anxieties, those fears that we all feel when we hear drama, and it allows them to be silly. I've put here, it's easy. It's not easy for everybody, of course. You may, if you don't enjoy drama, it might not be. But what I mean here by it's easy is that it doesn't, a lot of the time, it doesn't require a lot of planning. And it's quite easy to find a way to squeeze drama into every single lesson you do, or to have separate drama lessons. And the last one is you get to have fun too, because if you can't have fun, what's the point of doing it? The students want to see you enjoy it too. And now we'll go to the benefits, which are very similar to why we should use drama, but the benefits are what your participants and yourself are actually going to get from it. So the first one, of course, is it's going to utilize the students' speaking skills. And as language teachers, that's ideally what we need to get in all of our lessons, in all of our speaking lessons, of course, is that the kids will be utilizing those skills that they're learning about, but they're going to be doing it in a less scary way, I think, because in school, we have lots of activities like debating, and we have presentations, and they can learn how to formally speak. But using drama, you can utilize your speaking skills. And number two here, you can teach them authentic conversations, because not everybody that we teach is going to go on to be a public speaker or going to need to use such professional language in their lives. But everybody will benefit from being able to hold an authentic conversation with a person who speaks English natively or not. And it gives the students a chance to actually practice those sorts of conversations in the classroom. The third benefit I've written here is the active practice of target vocabulary. So whatever your game is, whatever your activity is, when using drama, you can input the exact things that are on your lesson plan, the exact points of the curriculum that you need to meet by this point with drama, and ensure that the students are getting to enjoy it in a calm and fun way. The fourth is it can increase your content awareness. So say you're talking about a topic that might not be very interesting or very accessible to all your students, but using a play or a film or a game within the context of what your theme is, it can help to create more awareness surrounding that topic without it just being okay, this is what we're learning, here you go, take it. It gives them a chance to explore it themselves. And then the fifth one, TPR, that is total physical response. And that means you can encourage your students to communicate, not just using spoken language, because as English teachers, I'm sure we all know that our number one priority is to make sure students are learning how to speak English and to speak it well. But we're not just doing that. We're teaching our students how to communicate, how to be compassionate people, how to express themselves in more ways than just spoken language. And using theatre and drama means they can do it really well and learn how to communicate without using their words. 6, it's an increase in confidence for a lot of people. Before I started doing drama as a young person, I was the shyest person, and I'm sure anybody that's done drama has got the same story. Everyone was so shy until they started doing drama. But it does help to increase your confidence, because it gives you a chance to really put yourself in a vulnerable and exposing position, but in a safe space. Because when you're doing it with a teacher who cares about their students and cares about how they feel in the situation, it allows them to be vulnerable, but in a safe way, which is ideally what we need for our students. And the 7th is social awareness. So with anything going on in the world, any global politics, any local news, you can use drama, and you can use drama activities and workshops in order to help increase their knowledge surrounding that, because it's hard to know about what's going on and how to teach social skills and social politics. But with drama, it allows them to do it in a more creative way and a more relaxed way. Now, I know I probably just spoke very, very quickly there, but I want to spend a lot of time on giving you different activities and workshops so that you can actually go away with this with real world examples. But before we do, these are not just the only 7 benefits of using drama. There are far, far more. So it teaches all of our students so many skills that you can plan for, but also they just happen. Just teaching a drama lesson or playing a drama game you don't realize what you're actually giving your students. You're teaching them to use their imagination, to be compassionate to their friends and to the people in the room. You're teaching them a healthy emotional outlet, how to express themselves without endangering themselves. It can be great for physical health, for vocal skills, for their memory, memorizing lines, getting ready for exams, for example. It helps them to relax. It can problem solve. You can teach self-discipline. There's just an endless amount of benefits when you are teaching drama and when you're giving students these skills to go out into the real world and go out into higher. If you're a primary teacher, it gives them the skills to go to secondary school, which can be scarier, go higher up to university. It can really help with so many parts of a child's formative years, not just their English learning abilities. Okay, so before we go on, I will just check the chat box to see how everyone feels about drama. Oh, good. We've had a couple of positive feelings. So we've got fun and laughter, interactive, facial expression. These are all great things. And I think given Hong Kong finally ending their mask mandate, which I'm very happy for everybody. It was in for the whole time I was there. Facial expressions is something children are only starting to learn how to read now, because for so long they only saw the people's eyes, really. So facial expression is a really important one, and drama is a great way to teach them how to read people, how to express themselves, how to show people how they're feeling with their face after so long not doing it. And yes, anxiety too, from Luke, and that's okay. Anxiety is a big part of drama because you are making yourself vulnerable. You are putting yourself in a position where people can criticize you and see you in a way you don't know, you can't see yourself really. And that is the case, but drama is a safe place to do it. And I think the most important thing is when a person is creating a safe space, they must ensure that they themselves feel safe. So I wouldn't suggest for you to go out and try and start a production tomorrow if you still feel yourself stressed by the idea of doing drama. But once you learn yourself how to use drama for you, you can then create that safe space for your children and allow them to grow as well. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the third part, which is how we are going to incorporate drama. So this is where I'm going to give you some examples that you might want to take some pictures of the screen or whatever, or ask questions. That is absolutely fine. And the biggest one, I believe, the biggest one, there's so many different activities to do in drama, but the first one I'm going to talk to you about is one that I think can work for basically everybody in the session, I hope, anyway. And you may have heard of it already, and that's called Readers Theatre. Oh, sorry, Ronan, the mask. Oh, yes, I'm sure there's still many people still wearing masks every day, but hopefully with drama, maybe you'll come up with some activities where they might be more willing to show their face or do something to help them get the mask off, but it will come in time, I'm sure. So Readers Theatre. This is an absolutely amazing skill and tool for your students and for you to have. This is great specifically for language learning and in allowing children to get the accuracy with their spoken language. So, sorry, I got to move the chat box. So Readers Theatre, it's minimal theatre and it's in support of reading and literature. So of course, reading and literature is very important in our day-to-day jobs. And using Readers Theatre just helps to really give them an opportunity to hit the accuracy of their words, but doing it in a more creative way than just having them do a presentation or reciting something back. So the most common features of Readers Theatre is it's narration-driven storytelling. So it's basically where you have a script, but there's no memorization involved. They keep the script in their hands, which when I did this with my students, they were absolutely overjoyed to know that they didn't have to learn all of their lines for this part of drama. and there's no sets and there's no costume. And that's because the storytelling is narration driven. It's all about their speaking. So for some students, this may not be great. For those that are not don't have a high ability in their English language learning journey, it might not be great straight away. But the beauty of Reader's Theatre, it is completely adaptable to whatever you need it to be. Cool. So the reason it's so good for us is it can create an interest and a skill in reading, because separate to the books the books and novels you use with your curriculum, students may not have an interest in reading. And that is okay for a lot of students, but being able to create their own personal interest in reading will only help them develop so many of their skills. And using Reader's Theatre could hopefully give them a more of an energetic way to get them involved in reading. It will definitely increase their fluency, as the storytelling is reliant on narration. So they need to be clear with what they're saying and how they're feeling in order for the story to carry. Third, it can complement a lesson topic. It's, as I said before, it's completely adaptable, and I'm going to show you in what ways it can be. There are thousands of Reader's Theatre scripts online available for free as well, mostly, that cover a range of topics, but you can also create your own, which is something I know chatterists have done before in the past as well. And it requires a little bit more preparation, but not too much really. And the fourth one, it's low-level planning and preparation, which I know as teachers in Hong Kong, that is a big selling point, because I'm aware of how hard you are working out there, and having something low-level with a low-level planning will definitely help. Okay, so using Reader's Theatre, I'm just going to show you how I like to use it. There's two ways. Is you can go online and find the scripts already, and I'm going to show you now what website I like to use, or you can create your own. So if you are reading a book as a part of your curriculum, you can create your own Reader's Theatre script from that book. And again, I will show you how you can do that. But first, let's talk about online, which I believe is it's the easiest one, because you save time. It's all done for you. You don't have to change and edit your stories to fit the class number, because online you can specifically tailor. You want a script for 20 people that talks about this, and it will find one. And again, it's easy to match your target theme. And the website I like to use is called aaronshepard.com, blah, blah, blah. It's Aaron Shepard Scripts, basically. You may have heard of it before. It looks like this when you go online. And this is just an example of his bank of scripts that are available online. This is how they look. So Reader's Theatre edition number 8 is called Peddler Polly and the Story Stealer. And then there you can see what kind of genre. Oh, it's funny, great. It talks about electronic entertainment, something students might be interested in. You need 13 people or more, 9 to 12 age range, and it's 10 minutes long. Perfect. That's exactly great if that's the size of your class and it's ready to go. And all you need to do is print it out, hand it out to your students, and then begin reading, learning, expressing using the script. And then, yeah, here's just a little example of the start of the script. So there's lots of narrators involved in a Reader's Theatre activity, of course, as it's all narration-driven activities. So you can just see here the first couple of lines. It's talking about, that was the sign on Peddler Polly's car as her horse pulled up in the main street. Peddler Polly looked around and smiled. Then there is a character, Peddler Polly, but then you see narrator 2, narrator 3. And if you look up into the names of all of the characters, you'll see there's 4 narrators in total, 3 people in the crowd. It's not just characters. So it's teaching our students how to really tell stories in a really, really clear way. And there's so many different types of plays on there, covering a range of themes, from very serious to very funny to anything you need. And I think this website's really great. Everything's free on there as well. If you have any other websites that you've used before, maybe you've done this, but maybe you've done it before, just pop it in the chat and share with everybody. Okay, so separate to using Aaron's website or any other website you may know of yourself, we have using books. So using the stories that you are already utilizing in your lessons to create a reader's theatre script. So the first thing you need to do with your story, say you've got a story in mind, is you need to identify what roles you can see. Of course, there will be narrators. And at that point, at the original point, when you go to edit it and create the script, you don't need to decide, okay, there's going to be 6 narrators. You just know there's going to be narrators, and then you work out the rest of the characters. And then say you've got 4 characters and then a lots of narration-driven story, and you've got 10 students, you've got 6 narrators then. You know what I mean? You just divide up the story into the number of people you have, because it's perfectly adaptable to what you need. Don't be scared to make cuts and changes. You don't need to include all of the information that you have from a book, because it's reader's theatre. It's storytelling with spoken language. You don't need to explain how something particularly looks. It's all about keeping the story going. You can split, combine characters, take away all the characters, just have it as narration. And then one of the most important things is making the script as clear as possible. And that's part of the don't be afraid to make cuts. Just take things out. If it doesn't make sense, if it's subtracting from the student's speech and it's making it more complicated, but it's not actually that important to the story, just get rid of it, because the most important thing is making sure the story is clear so that the students can access the script and that they can feel less fear, really, because if they're trying to read the script and they're getting confused, they're not going to want to try to accurately speak the words that they have on their script. And of course, important is some students may not know how a script works. They don't understand that the character names at the side, you don't read those out loud, you just read this part. So it's quite fun. It allows them to learn how to use scripts, and then maybe they'll all become actors in your class. Maybe not, but that's a whole lesson idea as well, is just understanding how scripts work. Okay. So there will be a lot available online, as I said before, and there will be others available from books. So the ones on Aaron's Theatre website I previously mentioned, they're mostly ones that he himself has written or has taken from other websites themselves, but there are some created already about stories you may already know. Like I've seen one about the hungry caterpillar, so I made a reader's theatre script out of that. You know, it can be done with absolutely any book that you want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss a couple more different ways we can use drama in our ESL lessons, and then after that, we will hopefully go into some breakout rooms and practice a couple of activities together. Come back, there may be a couple of people feeling confident to share. If not, it is completely okay. You do not have to. And then we'll have a bit of Q&A time where I also share with you some other websites and resources that I find my materials on, which would be great for you. So I've split this into 4 different ways we can use drama separate to reader's theatre, which I think is a great tool. The first one is mime. We all know that when you're learning a language, sometimes the speaking side of it and the listening as well are the most difficult, and the ones that the students fear most, because you're making yourself feel vulnerable. But incorporating mime activities and mime workshops really helps the children to relax, because they see that they can do drama and they can still be a part of the language learning journey, but they can have a rest. They don't need to always use their voice and speak and make themselves feel vulnerable in that way. So dubbing scenes, this is something I used to love to do with my students. Is I'd find out what kind of TV shows do you like to watch? English TV shows, and I put a very short scene, maybe 30 seconds of Friends or something else on, but turn the sound off, and then ask the students to take the role of those characters and actually, this part's not mine. Either turn the sound off and have them change the lines, or keep the sound on, but take the scene away after a couple of times and have them act it out to try and see if they can mimic what they saw. Miming target vocabulary. So even if that's a starting activity in your lesson, you've got 10 keywords you're doing today, start with a game of charades, a game of miming. So it gets the students using their TPR, their total physical response, in order to express what they're trying to tell you. And Tableaux. A tableau is a series of still images, which I'm going to talk about in depth in the next slide anyway. And that's a great one to use for the students. So I'll come back to that one. Improvisation. This one is probably something that people that fear drama fear the most, is improv. So this one I wouldn't suggest immediately if you've got a group of nervous people to do drama. And it's actually just improvising. So a famous drama game that I've always somehow had to play, no matter what job I've been on, is park bench. You have 3 chairs or 2 chairs, and people just come on as a random character and respond to the situation that's there. You can help the students by giving them scenario prompts. You can give them a character background before they go on there. You can even start a series of lessons where they first create characters. They do character profiles. They look at the important parts of creating a character before they get to use them in improv. But it's just a really great way to try and help the students learn to think on their feet and just respond with their first thought, not to overthink what they're thinking and worry about the exact language. Just get them up in the space and have them just express what they're feeling. The next one is act out. Of course, acting out, that's what drama is. So when you're reading through a boring story in their textbook that they're going to have to answer questions for, rather than just have them read it themselves silently or just with a monotone voice, have them act it out, give them a background. How are they feeling before they read it today? Is there a conversation in a book that they need to hear before their next exercise? Try and get them to give them a scenario to play it in a different way. Their emotions, acting out their emotions silently or in a way that's opposite to what they want. So a good example of this is having a list of emotions ranging from happy to sad to upset, mad, hungry, whatever, but they have one word they need to say, but what a different emotion. So they need to say the word table, but they need to say it in a cold way. They need to say the word table, but in a really happy way. Giving them sort of contradicting things just allows them to be silly, and it probably lead to them getting confused and saying the word in a wrong way, which just means they get to laugh and they get to relax, which in Hong Kong, students need time to relax. They need scheduled points in the day in their learning journeys to relax because the workload is so heavy. And another one is contentless scenes, which is something else I'm going to talk about in depth after Tableaux or before Tableaux. So we'll leave that there too. And then creating poems, monologues, dialogues, characters. These are really great for students' imagination, for giving them the power back into what they're learning about and what they're doing, allowing them to create a character that is completely silly can just help them to relax and to access their lessons in a different way, rather than as a student who's got the DSE coming or P6 interviews coming up or whatever. Rather than wearing that hat, they can take that hat off, put on a hat of a silly character who has dog ears and works in the sky and flies to the moon, and have them read a funny poem in that way. And there's, of course, other great things that you can use, such as tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are probably one of the most applicable to language learning. And funny poems. Funny poems and tongue twisters are very similar. It's where they're really addressing a specific sound. So it's absolutely great for phonics. So any primary school teachers here that teach phonics, or even if you're doing phonics in secondary as well, tongue twisters are a great way for students to practice their target sounds. And for those, I'm sure you all know what a tongue twister is, but if you don't, it's just it's a short poem. It could be a sentence or a paragraph of words that often don't make sense, but they're targeting the same sound. So it's really great for hitting those specific targets. And because they're so silly, the kids will make mistakes, but that's all incredibly important when learning how to speak English accurately, is that you make a mistake and you trip up on your words, because we all do it. Even those that are native speaking English, those that speak English natively, we all trip on our words, as I have just done perfectly. Okay, so we're going to go and look at contentless scenes now. I was a secondary school teacher when I was in Hong Kong, so these really, really worked great for my students. You can adapt them, again, as I said, to work for primary, to work for anybody, but they did work great for students of secondary age. So this is important for communication skills. A contentless scene is basically a very, very basic script that is devoid of any specific feeling, specific scenario. It's just simple words such as hi, hello, what did you do last night? Oh, not much, how about you? Watch some telly, anything good? No, not really. Oh, yeah, see you later. Okay, simple, easy. You can create these yourselves as well. But what you do with them is you give them to students and you give them a scenario, or you ask them to create their own scenario. So you see this script with maybe 10, 12 lines on it. You could read this as, oh, two friends that just ran into each other when they were getting books out of their locker. And they'll say, oh, hi, hello, what did you do last night? No, not much, just watched a bit of telly, everything good? No, I'll see you later. Or it could be two people who run a business together, but they had a massive falling out 5 years ago and they've been forced to come back together for a meeting. How would you read it in that way? And it's teaching the students how to use their voice to communicate, but not with specifically words. It's not going to be words to say, oh, my business partner did this to me, blah, 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 because that's not how we all communicate. In the real world, you don't communicate using your words completely. You use your tone of voice, you use your expressions, you use anything really that is separate to the voice, to specific language. So contentless scenes are great for that. And it's quite funny as well, because you read something and you can read it 100 times in one way and not see that it could be read in a different way. And that just helps the children to be more independent with their learning and independent with their imagination and their thoughts. Okay, so these are actually what we're going to have a go at when we split off into our groups. Don't worry about taking a picture or anything. There's different scripts and scenarios to go through. But these are one of my favorite things. And I did these are used throughout drama. I've used them when I was younger, part of little drama clubs. I used them when I was doing my acting degree. And I used them last month when I was teaching a different workshop. They are great for all different reasons. And a tableau. So assigning students the task of creating a tableau from a story they are learning about can help their content awareness. So a tableau is a series of still images that tell a story. Now, when I was teaching this specific class, it was about 2 weeks before we were performing our tableaus and we got moved to go back online. So this is not a perfect example of what a tableau could look like, but it does show you how adaptable drama activities can be. They can work online, though it can be considerably more difficult to have students engaged in drama online. It is still a possible thing. So here, we were doing a Reader's Theatre script, and it was called Help, Hillary, Help. Very, very crazy story, but it starts with two bad guys taking Hillary's mum away. Hillary chases after them until the final end where she finally saves her mother. But this student, when we were in class and we were doing our tableaus and our Reader's Theatre, he was not very forthcoming with getting up and putting himself in a vulnerable position because it made him nervous. It gave him anxiety. He didn't like to be vulnerable in front of his friends in this way. But when the assignment was moved to an online assignment, he he handed this in and explained to me that he really enjoyed my lessons, enjoyed the drama, but he was really scared. But he loved that he could use Photoshop, something he loved. And that's not typically something you use in a Tableau. You don't always use Photoshop, or you use online. Mostly it's about using your body and just your pictures. But he was able to access this because it was changed to the way he likes it. And that's the beauty of drama, is that it's okay to fear performing in front of everybody. It's okay to fear looking like a silly person in front of your friends, because you don't have to do that to access drama or to get the benefits from drama, because drama can be changed to make it more accessible to you. And that's what the most important thing is with drama, is knowing who your students are and knowing what will work for them and trying to tailor it for them specifically, because all students are not the same. We know that every human being in the world is an individual, and their learning journey is individual too. Of course, you can't design the lessons for every single student separately. I understand that, but making an activity that is accessible in different ways is possible. And then if I show you the same class that handed this in as their work, this is another way. This is sort of a traditional version of a tableau. So we've got 5 pictures, which was their assignment, was to explain the story of Help Hillary, Help to Me. And here we can see 2 bad guys were taking the mother away. They put them into a car. They were on an aeroplane. And then this was a bird. I think he created a nice hat, a little prop to show that it was a bird, but it was supposed to be on his face. But he has a mask on, of course. So he put his beak on his head instead. But this was what some students who had quite a low ability level of spoken language in English. And in fact, a couple of them I had not spoken to properly. Even though I'd been at this school for 2 years by this point, we'd never really spoken. But because the tableau and their assignment did not require them to speak to me in English, they could still communicate that they were enjoying what we were doing and enjoyed the assignment. But that was all without spoken language. And that's really what we're here to teach our children, how to communicate, not just through English, just to communicate. And that's why I think tableaus are a really great way, because it gives the kids a chance to relax. And you do get quite a lot of fans if you go into a lesson and you say, we're doing drama today, but guess what? No one needs to speak any English. What? Yes, thank you. Give us a chance to relax. Yay. But they still do work and they're still benefiting from it. So in our breakout rooms, you are going to go in there together. And there are 3 contentless scenes I have put on this document I shared with you. And before the contentless scenes, you'll see there are 5 different scenarios that I have written out here. And these are the ways I want you to try and practice reading these scripts. You can choose any one of them, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, and you can choose any of the scenarios and just give it a go. Just try to read the script as best you can with one of these scenarios in your head. So somebody is planning a secret party for the other person. Neighbors are coming to discuss their shared fence, but why can't they talk about it? Why are they talking about something else? Or if you're feeling specifically creative, come up with your own scenario. I don't mind. And I'll pop in and out to see how you're doing. And hey, I think that looks like most people have come back from their rooms. Lovely. Okay, well, I hope you all found that beneficial, being in your rooms. We've had some great kind volunteers offer to show us the great example that they've done. Ronan and Zach were in group 2, I believe, and they are going to show us their version of whichever scene they chose. So over to you whenever you're ready, Ronan and Zach.
Okay, where's Zach? Oh, there he is. Okay, so we've decided to do change the scenario to angry for scene 1. Okay, and lights, camera, action. Hi.
Hello?
How's everything?
Fine, I guess.
Do you know what time it is?
No, not exactly.
Don't you have a watch?
Not on me.
Well,
what?
What did you do last night?
What do you mean?
What did you do last night?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Said nothing.
I'm sorry I asked.
That's all right.
Oh, fantastic. Contact the Olivier Awards. We have a late entry. That was amazing. Thank you both so much. And I know some of you may have begun this session with a bit of fear and anxiety, but hopefully with some humor, you've had a time to relax. So Zach and Ronan did a really great job there. They were angry. It could have exploded into a fight at any moment. But Anna and I, don't worry, Anna, I'm not going to ask you to perform. We performed it in our group separately, and we went with the scenario of one of us has a secret, and great news, Zach. One of us has a secret for the other, and we're excited and feeling a little bit like, why? What do you mean? I didn't do anything last night. And same exact script, just different feelings behind it, gives us two different performances, really. And that's great when we're teaching our children how to communicate their emotions. Okay, well, I will share my screen just for this one. We have got just a couple minutes left now. When I did pop into Ronan and Zach's group, Ronan was making the excellent point that those scenarios that I put at the top of the Contentless Scenes document, they may not work for your students. They might not understand how to make a difference talking about a business partner and a surprise party. But as Ronan introduced his and Zach's performance as angry, we understood that students will be able to do that. So when you're giving them the scenarios and the prompts, you can do it in whichever way it perfectly suits your class, because no one knows your class more than you do. No one knows the people you're working with like you do. So use just words. You can use pictures of emotions. You can use a picture of a character, just a face, and just whether the kids can adapt to them, whether they can use their own ideas or whether they are ideas you give them. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what they're going to produce is always going to be different, because they're different people with different feelings behind it. So yeah, do you have any questions? Do you have anything to add to what I've talked about? Just feel free to pop your mic on. Don't worry.
In terms of students that are really, really reluctant, how do you maybe get them involved in something like a readers theatre lesson? Because there's always going to be students that just outright refuse to participate, I'm sure. So is there anything that you'd recommend?
Absolutely. So with that class, I showed you the pictures of the tableaux, and that the students actually present in the pictures rather than Photoshop. There was a student in there who refused to speak. Even in the rehearsals, he didn't want to do it. And I tried my best. We had both me trying to encourage him. I gave him just one line. I said, your only line is this. This is all you need to do. And he still didn't want to do it. But then the local teacher spoke with him, and he expressed to her in his native language that he just didn't feel comfortable saying anything in English, but he does like drawing. So I asked him to draw me a picture of what Hillary could look like. And I asked him to do this before we went online, and it got changed to taking a picture of a tableau. So finding out if there is a creative outlet that they do enjoy, seeing if you can include that in some way. Try and give them less lines, tell them there's only 2 lines, work with them specifically, allow them to do it whatever way they want. There'll always be a struggle to ensure every single student can access what you're wanting to do. I know that, and I won't lie and pretend I have got a secret skill that somehow makes all students want to get involved, but just trying to find something that will specifically work for whatever they want, and giving them the power to choose that is quite good, I find, with getting students to be involved. But I do understand it's not something that can magically be solved. Thank you for your question, Zach.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, I will give my email to Margaret, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions. One website I really did want to tell you about is called dramanotebook.com. It is a paid website, so you do have to pay to access the materials, but it's not that expensive, and it's not a full subscription. You can pay once to access something, and there are great amounts of resources on there. And there's specific ESL drama games on there available too. But other than that, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the session. It was really lovely to speak with you all and to see performances.
Before you go, I just have a really quick question. I don't have a room to do. I've just started teaching drama, but we don't have a drama room. It's just in the classroom, and the room is really tiny, and the desks are all spread out still for COVID. So there is not much physical space. Do you have a list of games you would recommend, or things you recommend that could be done where space is non-existent?
Yeah, that is not great for you to have to deal with at all. I'm sorry about that. I'm assuming because of the COVID restrictions still in place, you can't move the desks around and create more space. With that,
it's more like the teachers say cannot.
Yeah,
they're not allowed to. Yeah.
Yeah, cannot. I understand the cannots, don't worry. If possible, and this is something I'm sure you've done already, is if there is the basketball court available to get them out, a hall, or if there's a bigger space, of course, try to use that. I'm sure you already have. But if you are really just stuck into the individual tables and they can't be moved, sorry. Readers Theatre is a good way because they don't have to necessarily move around. It is harder to include engagement, but even if they're just allowed to turn their chairs, so they create a circle, keeping the tables there, fine. But maybe they can just turn slightly to see each other a bit more. There are lots of games you can play, sat down games as well, where they don't need to move around, so they won't be breaking any COVID restrictions. So if you were to research just ESL drama games, I'll go on Drama Notebook, or email me later if you want to. I don't mind talking specifically with you about it, and just seeing what games are done in a circle that don't require a lot of movement, because you can do them sitting down, you just change it a little bit. Okay. But I'm sorry you have to deal with that. That is very difficult. I'm not jealous of you for that, but good luck with it, and I hope you can.
More bad for the students, but
yeah, absolutely, it's not great for them at all. Sorry,
okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your question, Anna.